Please welcome our superhero sponsor, MetaViewer by Metafile, and their super regional manager, Doug Bertram. Today, he will be saving the day with his session, Process Automation, exploring the benefits of RPA in your workplace. Stick around after for a live Q&A with a real-life F&O hero.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks to DynamicsCon for having us today to talk to you about process automation and exploring the benefits of our robotic process automation in your workplace. You can ask questions as we go through the material today using the chat functionality of the meeting here. We will read those at the end and do our best to answer those questions for you. So just a quick introduction. My name is Doug Bertram. I'm one of the regional representatives from a company called Metafile. I've been in this document management space for about 30 years in various capacities and several companies and that type of thing. And so really been helping clients with their document issues for many, many years. Metafile is a company. We've been doing this for 40 years, and I've been here quite a long time, and really helping companies on all aspects of document management. Today, we're going to kind of focus on that paperless automation and the robotic process automation, which is what the topic is about today, and kind of share. We're going to interject a few couple clients that I have. We're going to bring some of their comments and their experiences into the mix here, and then just kind of walk you through how this can maybe really help your organization and give you some food to think on. So robotic process automation, what is it, right? It sounds like a fancy title, but essentially it's we've evolved over time, and I hate to admit how old I am, but we've really had technology improvements throughout my lifetime, and our software, the MetaViewer solution that we provide, really capitalizes on this robotic process automation. And really what it's doing is having the software be smarter and do a lot of the hard work and heavy lifting that you would have to do to free up your time for more value add types of things and kind of analyzing things and stuff like that. So it really kind of helps to use this robotic process automation to really automate your organization and do so in a consistent fashion. So robotic process automation, as it relates to companies, the best in class companies, and we work with a few different organizations that kind of keep their fingers on the touch of AP. They interview a lot of companies, and we'll kind of share some of that data today as well. But really those best in class companies that implement the robotic process automation to help their organizations it utilizes automation. It standardizes their AP and business processes, allows them to take advantage of straight through invoice processing for efficiency, which means basically not being able to take a lot of things out of the employees' hands and have things do things automatically, and then analyzing performance and measuring your KPIs and those types of things. So we'll kind of take a look at each one of those individually and then kind of move along here. So utilization of information. Arden Partners is an organization that is one of those organizations that I just mentioned that really kind of tries to keep their fingers on the pulse of AP, and they do a lot of interviews over the years with CFOs and AP managers and AP clerks and those types of things. They're trying to understand how they're evolving, and I've really seen these numbers and these percentages change over the last probably 10, 20 years here, and automating your approval workflows and electronic invoicing solution, capturing invoices electronically from your vendors automatically, and really taking a holistic, complete procure to pay type of an approach with your organization. And all of those, implementing all those tools for those best in class organizations really helps them get a return on investment and be able to really maximize their investment in this technology, this robotic process automation technology, to make their organizations better. One of our clients, Ohio Masonic Home, they're a nonprofit organization with housing and healthcare services to individuals in Ohio. And one of the challenges that they were faced, and is probably a pretty real world scenario, is they had multiple locations. You can see here three different cities and three different locations, and trying to get their hands on a paper-based process where that paper is coming to and from with couriers and routing around people's desks. It was very inefficient and inaccurate, and they'd lose things, and then losing an invoice that costs money because now you maybe have late payment fees and those types of things. So they really were looking for some way to streamline their processes and be able to do so in an efficient manner from one organization to the next. And so, they asked for our help, and they've been a client since 2016, I believe. So they've been around for quite a while and been doing this. So they would have been one of those best-in-class companies that had the foresight back in 2016 to look at robotic process automation and AP automation and implement that. And so some of the numbers that they've shared with us over time here is, by their calculations, they look like they've saved 10,000 hours of labor and more than $250,000 in hard savings since they implemented that solution. And it allows them to their managers to free up their time to focus on a lot more of those value add things and let the system either do things automatically or route it from one of their locations to the next without having somebody to put that in an envelope and get it to the courier and get the courier to corporate and back and forth. And so it really saved them. That's kind of where what goes behind the hour savings and then ultimately that hard ROI savings. Standardizing your AP processes. This is pretty important too. So robotic process automation, if you build your business rules into a system, it can actually not only standardize your processes, but do so consistently. It's kind of like the telephone games. If you got organizations that have been around as long as Metafile has been for 40 years or so, that your business rules were probably created many years ago, and as people come and go, you hire people, some people leave and you get new people. It's kind of like the old telephone game when we were kids, where you would tell somebody something, they'd tell somebody else, and they'd tell the next person and the next person, and by the time you got to the end of the chain, it really wasn't what you thought it was supposed to be, or wasn't really what you envisioned to begin with. And so that's where, when you've got a paper-based process and you've got people telling people, and over the years, your business processes really aren't probably what they were originally intended to be. And so utilizing a software solution that makes use of that robotic process automation is those rules and business practices that are all built into the software. So there really isn't any interpretation. The software makes it either does things automatically so you don't have to at all, or when you do interact with it, it is doing so in the manner that you intended. And the rules that are built into that really help you do that. And you can see there the Arden Partners with some of the statistics for those best in classes and how they use that to make their electronic payments, do their three-way matching it to other documents like contracts, doing some of that straight through processing. All of those kinds of things enhance that visibility and help you run your organization better and in those standardized manners. So Ohio Masonic Homes, again, they kind of really saw that, and like I said, they really like that visibility into the invoices. And I know when I work with various clients, one of their challenges is their approvers aren't approving things in a timely manner. It takes weeks for them to get their approvals back. And like Ohio Masonic here was somebody who experienced the advantage of that robotic process automation and that automated solution, in that where it really benefits them is when I send something to somebody, it's immediately there. I don't have to wait for the courier or wait for it to get from one place to the other. And what's also more importantly is where the approvers really like it. Approvers don't really, they're not approving their invoices to make your life miserable. It's just, in a paper-based world, if I'm an approver and I get an invoice that sits on my desk, I pick it up, I start looking at it, and like, oh yeah, I got to research, I got to look into something. And somebody comes into my office, I sit it on my desk, they come in, it gets covered over with other things. When I eventually get back to that, now I have to go look for the information that I wanted to do to verify that I really want to approve this invoice. Well, with an electronic system, with that robotic process automation, all of that information that you need is right at your fingertips. The documents they stay in that one place, easily accessed right from your computer screen. When you're there and you're looking at that invoice, if I wanted to see the GL information, or I wanted to see a link to the purchase or the original purchase order, or any of the other documents that go along with that transaction. All of that stuff is all together right there with that, and I can click a button and I can see it. So that's where um, it it allows you to have access to all that information at your fingertips and be able to see it as needed. And so I don't have to hunt around for it. If I wanted to look at what I paid this vendor last time, I have searches that allow me to open up and search for that vendor and see the invoice that I paid to them a couple months ago. So that's where we really see the approvers actually like the solution as well, because it gives them access to their visibility into their spend, gives them access to everything they can do to make their decisions. And what we see is typically, these companies that take 2 to 3 weeks to get their approvals back, now it's a matter of a day or two, and they got those approvals back. And Ohio Masonic experienced that as well. Straight through touchless invoice processing. That's another advantage of robotic process automation. This is a big one. So really what it does is Arden Partners here, 74% of the best-in-class companies are able to leverage this robotic process automation with touchless invoice processing. And that means not where the system can actually read and extract the data out of the document. So I don't have to have somebody manually key that information in. And then once the system extracts that data, it can talk to your Microsoft Dynamics solution and match that up to the purchase order information, pull back default coding that you typically assign to that vendor, and things like that, to really try and minimize how much that user interaction has to happen. And if everything happens in a perfect world and everything matches up, it can then go straight through right to your Microsoft Dynamics system, and really nobody has to touch it at all. So your days to process goes down to just minutes, because it comes in, it extracts the data, it analyzes it, if everything's a perfect match, and it goes right over there. Landscape Structures is another company, another client of ours that has been around just about as long as we have, in that they were looking for some ways to be more efficient with that touchless, and their AP staff, they were growing very rapidly. They make playgrounds equipment, and they were selling more and more playground equipment every year, and the volumes just kept going up and up and up, and they were really having a hard time staying afloat. So they looked to MetaViewer to kind of solve some issues for there, to try and do some of this straight through touchless processing. And after implementing the solution, they increased their efficiency by 30%. So that gave them the bandwidth for their AP staff to continue to do their jobs the way they did them today, but also not be overburdened when they're selling more playground equipment and they're getting more vendor invoices in. They gave them more bandwidth to be able to hand all of that, and they didn't have to add staff. They could maintain with the staff that they had. Analysis of AP performance and KPIs. So that standardized process, robotic process automation, and using the software to control your business rules and programmatically have those business rules in your system, and freeing up your time for your employees. Really, that all kind of boils down to having the system track all these documents, and all the data that's associated with them allows you to have reports that can help you analyze that data. And you can see here another slide from Arden Partners study of their AP departments, of those best in classes, and where they see their key metrics going down. And the system inherently gives them the ability to see those metrics and analyze those. So you can see the cost to process invoices go down, that time to process a single invoice. Again, where we see approvers taking typically maybe 2 or 3 weeks to approve some invoices, now it's just a matter of days. So that really helps. Your exceptions go down, and getting more vendors to submit things electronically and being able to have the system automatically read those invoices and extract the data, that helps brings out those efficiencies to the process as well. And again, Landscape Structures, they were a client that experienced that, and they took what they learned in the AP solution, and really have since then migrated that to other parts of their organization, using the same concepts of robotic process automation in the AP world to some of their other documents. They have microfiche documents that they keep as a historical record of their play sets and how they were built, and being able to make that information handy and easily accessed within a quick search, and allow users to see what they're looking for and find that information in a second or two, compared to the old microfiche. Some of the people on the line don't even know what microfiche are, but it was an old school way of digitizing things and basically taking pictures of documents and having them on these things that were pretty cumbersome to go find. So by putting them all electronically and getting them into a document management system with searches, you can find things in a second or two, as opposed to digging in these complex images and trying to sort through all those in a timely manner. So we talked, and kind of in expanding on that a little bit. So other areas, right? So AP automation and using robotic process automation, we kind of focus mostly on the invoice side of things, and that's probably been a really big area that clients in the last decade here or so have really kind of focused on. And but you can really use and leverage that same technology in other areas like expense reports, requisitions, check batch approval, journal entries, documents. Those are kind of things where maybe you're not getting a document from a vendor like an invoice or something like that, but you have forms that your employees fill out for an expense report or something like that. Well, using those same concepts and preventing that pay from happening, having more of an electronic form that they click a link, they fill out their form, they submit it, it goes to their boss fills out that form, and then kind of goes from one person to the next. Same kind of concepts. There's no manual entering of that data or repeating that data, and getting it from one step to the next process is all programmed into the system to make sure it does so efficiently. An audit trail can be kept on who's approving what, who's submitting what, and all that information is there as well. And then expanding even anywhere in the organization, really, HR, contracts, AR, customer service, and proof of delivery. Those used to be the hot when probably 20, 30 years ago when I was in this industry. Those were really the hot buttons. And probably I would say late 80s, early 90s, middle 90s, that's where it kind of turned, and a lot of people had some tools in place for their customer service and proof of delivery types of things. And really the tide kind of really focused on that AP automation. And that's where we kind of, now we focus so much on that AP automation because that's where people want to start. And that tight integration with your Microsoft Dynamics solution and all those kinds of things. But keep in mind that if you haven't had other tools in place to manage the other aspects of your organization, you can certainly do that with a good system that is more than just AP. All right, so that's kind of an overview of what robotic process automation and all the aspects that it can really do for your organization. Since we do have a little bit more time here, I'm going to jump over to a virtual machine that I have got a system running, and just kind of give you a little bit of a background, a little picture of what a solution looks like and how it can kind of really do the things that we just talked about in this this PowerPoint presentation here. All right. So we're over here, and I've got some documents sitting in a folder. Now normally automation, when things happen automatically and nobody needs to get involved, it's a little hard to show somebody an example of that. So to really show you kind of what goes on here, I actually paused a task that would normally be watching email boxes and folders and pulling in documents and invoices that come in from vendors and those types of things. I'm going to kick that task off. I'm going to start it back up again. And so now you can see some documents that I have in this folder. You can see some invoices with some purchase order invoices, some non-purchase order related invoices, and things like that. So what I want to do here, you can see now that I kicked that task off and it's running, it's kind of running like it normally would. It pulled those documents in, it's analyzing those documents, it's extracting the data out of those documents, and then feeding those into the workflows that we have set up for the solution, and either processing them automatically or giving people access to the information that they need to make their decisions on those documents. So I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to jump over here to the tooling. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and log in as one of my AP users here. When the invoices come in from that email box, from that folder, and the system it pulls them in, automatically extracts that data, and then analyzes the data. So when I log in as this user, I have this dashboard here that kind of shows me everything that I'm authorized to see and do. And as an example, if I go into some of these documents in this waiting for payment queue here, I can see some documents that came in and were automatically processed, including a few of these invoices here at the bottom that were related to purchase orders. So you can see this invoice here, this purchase order 17 from Fabricam Suppliers. If I go in there, I can see the invoice. And if I look over here on the right, this is where the system, this is all the checks and balances that the system did automatically. So not only did it extract the data, but it compared that data to the purchase order information that's in your Microsoft Dynamics for finance or whatever Dynamics version that you're using. And so if I actually clicked on the purchase order number here, I can see all the information associated with that purchase order that's in Microsoft Dynamics. And there were some items that would qualify to be matched to. So some that required 3-way matches, some that required 2-way matches. And so the system with that robotic process automation compared this invoice to that data. And you can see here it automatically matched that information. And in this system, it pushed and created this transaction over into Microsoft Dynamics. And now it's just waiting to get the payment information back from Dynamics once that transaction is actually posted and paid within Dynamics, and it could all sync up. If for some reason it wasn't a perfect match, that's where then you have queues that allow a user to interact with the system in a timely manner. And so if I hop over to, say, this preparation queue here, for example, right, and I've got maybe a purchase order invoice, like let's just pick one here. In this case, when this one came in, we extracted the data, and over here on the right, I can see the sum of the imported lines didn't match. So this is where the users that would be responsible for adjusting this invoice have that access to all the tools that they would need. So they can come in and they can look at the information about the purchase order. Like I said, I clicked on that before, but you can see, what's available to match to. They can actually see links to related documents, things that are related to, I can see I've got a view, I've got one here. So if I click on that, that actually allows me to see something like the purchase order or maybe the packing slip or something like that that's associated with that. And that robotic process automation in this case kind of gathers all those documents and automatically links them together when they're here, so I don't have to go hunt for them. I don't have to figure out what file cabinets it's in. I don't have to dig around. Everything is right here that allows me to make my decision of what I want to do with this document. So if I wanted to try and reconcile this document, this system will then communicate with the purchase order information and pull back what's available to match to. And now I can look at this document, I can compare that to what we have. And so here I can kind of see why it did match automatically. So I've actually we're being invoiced for 171, but I've got more receipts than are on this invoice. So it didn't know which receipt I wanted to use to match to this invoice. So in this case, the easiest way is I can just remove that 319. I could adjust quantities or prices. Everything ties out. And then I say reconcile. So that gives me the tools at my fingertips to do what I need to do on that invoice without having to hunt around for all that information. A good example of something that's not related to a purchase order, the value for robotic process automation and something like that would be that it can automatically get coded based off of the defaults for the vendor or the maybe the last time for this company and this vendor, how it was coded last time. And so if I were to click code and reconcile, it can communicate with those other systems and then code up my invoice automatically. If it's different this time, I could edit the main account or my dimensions of business unit, department, whatever my dimensions are, add project information if this was related to a project. Kind of code all of that up. And then here's where like Ohio Masonic really benefited in that they had the person that needed to approve this was at a different facility. So if I wanted to get it to that person, all I have to do is I can say coded, And the system actually then remembers who are the default approvers and by certain parameters. And you can see department 100. It can also build your business rules in. If I switch this to department 600, for example, it knows that this invoice amount was over his approval limit. So it applied it to manager 600. It was still over his approval limit. So it sent it to VP of service and so on. So that's where those making sure that people adhere to your business rules. There's no real thinking that they have to do here. The system can actually do that hard thinking for you. You just pick who you wanted it to go to, and then away it goes. And so here's where, like I said, was saying, I say send for approval. If they're at a different facility, it's immediately in their queue. I can log out right now. And I go over to a different user. If I'm at a different facility, I can have my approval queue, and this electronic system allows me to come in here and look at my approval queues. Here's the one that we just sent over there. And then now I can look at this and I can control what the approver is allowed to see and not see, be able to do with the document. And over here, you're kind of, we're tracking that audit trail of what's all being done to that document. So if I were to say approve, likewise, this basically, if I'm at a different facility, this is going to send that back to the corporate AP department. And if we log back out and we go back in, my corporate AP department has a final review queue down here. And so they click on that and then they can see that document. And here's where over here, it automatically stamped Joe Approver's name and title in that audit trail that he approved it for this amount. And it's all right there. So now they get to look at this. They can export that to Microsoft Dynamics. They can maybe escalate it to the AP manager, either send it back to the approver with a note, all those kinds of things. They can do so immediately. And that's where your approval then goes from weeks to just a matter of a day or two, and everything is there. Okay? One other example, we kind of talked since we got a little bit of time yet. If we go back to a different user here, some of those other add-on things beyond AP, and being able to use a system like this with a robotic process automation as your form, where I can come in here, I can say create an expense report. Right? It basically loads a document up for me. I can pick, what company do I belong to? What was the purpose? I went to Summit, right? Something like that. And when did I go? I went last week. So basically, I fill out that form. I could attach all my receipts. When I'm on a trip, I take pictures of my receipts. When I come back into the office, they're all uploaded to my OneDrive folder. I go in, I grab all those receipts, bring those in, right? And then I can enter my details, right? So I basically kind of fill out my form. I can enter my details. I had meals of $152. We can also even do things. You can do things in forms here to make them smart. So if I say I had, this was supposed to be meals. This one is mileage. If I do mileage, I can put in 150 miles, and the system knows based on the dates that I traveled what was the mileage rate, and it automatically calculates those values for me too. So again, taking the thinking out of the person's hands and allowing the system to know that information and do so in a consistent manner. And then all I need to do is say submit. It then sends that to my boss for review. He and I could bounce it back and forth if he had any questions, and then once everything's been approved, I can get reimbursed for that information. So another way outside of regular invoice processing to be able to leverage a system with robotic process automation to do a lot of that. All right, so in conclusion, robotic process automation, it's really not just a passing fad. It's really a way for solution providers like us to really keep thinking outside the box. And how much more can we leverage the technology of robotic process automation to do more things for people so that they can use the time more wisely to analyze their spend, work out negotiations with vendors to get maybe better discounts and those types of things, and ultimately increase the profitability of your organization. So really, we can help you with your implement some of this technology. And here's some of our contact information. We'll kind of maybe close out here. Today was really kind of just to give you a hint or a taste of what that robotic process automation can really do for your organization. If you'd like some more information, there's our contact information. We can probably set up a one-on-one webinar to really drill down into the solution and really listen to what kind of areas that you think you can benefit from robotic process automation. And we can help you become one of those best-in-class organizations that are really leveraging this technology and really running their businesses more efficiently. Thanks, everyone, for attending the session today. Thanks to DynamicsCon for having us and allowing us to help you guys understand a little bit about robotic process automation and what that might do for your organization. Now we're going to kind of switch gears over to Q&A. And so I actually, if you do have a question, you can do so by entering it in the chat area there. I will read the question and we'll see what kind of how best I can answer that question. Welcome, everybody. Kind of wait for some of the questions to come in here. All right. So while the questions are, I'll kind of let you guys type in some of the questions over there in the chat function there. Hey, Jennifer, welcome. So I don't know if you had any questions regarding the material that you just saw, but we can kind of go over some of that. Like one of the, while we wait for maybe some of these questions to come in, maybe I can kind of shed a little bit of light on some questions I typically get asked, and probably one of the biggest ones is implementation time. We get a lot of questions, like how long does it take to implement this solution, and really kind of depends. There's a few different there's two different ways to implement the solution, both hosted or not hosted or on-premises type of implementations. And if it's hosted, we kind of take care of all the infrastructure, so that kind of goes a lot quicker. So because we can get it all up and running. Obviously, if you're going to do it on premises, then we kind of need to work with your IT folks to get some of that set up. The implementation, we actually have lots of experience of putting these things in for hundreds of organizations. And so many years ago, we created a best practices approach to AP. And so when it's kind of a pre-built solution, so we kind of put that in, and the guys can put all that stuff in a day or so, have it talk to your D365 solution, and then we can kind of really then switch gears to more of the training and that type of thing. So in that case, then our training sessions, we have a pretty good experience doing that. We do about 12 or 15 different training sessions, and so depending on the organization, we kind of try to like to spread those out. Do a couple a week over several weeks, and that's where allows your AP folks to really comprehend what we're teaching them, but then also allows them to do their day job, right? Try to get to different things and be able to do that, the day-to-day type of activities as well. So all in all, typically, you're probably looking at about maybe 2 to 3 months, somewhere in there from start to finish to put everything in, having it talk to your dynamic system, and making sure that you're comfortable with it, go through some verification sessions, and then going to live, promoting it from a test environment to a prod environment, and all those typical things that we do. So just kind of take a peek there. Any questions? Thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation. Grant. Here's a question. We are grant funded with 150 grants turning over every year. Is RPA something that would still be helpful? Yeah, I would believe so. I guess you can kind of maybe drop over and chat with some representatives in our booth. But yeah, I think robotic process automation, from what you've seen today, is really kind of trying to take that busy work out of the processing of invoices. And so even if you get the turnover and you get those new grant requests, the system can actually read those new documents that come into the system, and be able to either process them automatically or allow you to kind of the tools to kind of control and manage that through the process. We've seen, like I said, the last year was certainly very challenging for a lot of organizations who are in a paper-based process. When you've got that robotic process automation that can kind of route things around automatically, and whether people are at home or remote offices and those types of things, it's I think it could definitely add some great value to you as well. Okay, another question: how is it priced, by usage or a fixed rate? Great question, Jake. There's most of our system, we kind of look at the size of the organization that kind of controls some of the pricing structure. There is a user component, so you do add users to MetaViewer who need to participate in workflows. Maybe they're the AP folks or the people that are approving invoices, those types of things. So we kind of look at all of that. That kind of goes into the system, and we can certainly talk a little bit more specifics one-on-one, as you saw in the presentation. That info@metafile.com. You could drop us a quick email, and we get somebody in touch with you to kind of ask all the right questions and then price it out. The interesting thing, one of the things with our solution, we're very tightly integrated with Dynamics and being able to have access to all the information, but we do actually sit outside of Dynamics, and there's kind of different school of thought of how to make an automation solution, and a lot of our clients like that MetaViewer is outside of the organization, because a lot of their approvers don't need to have licensing for Dynamics and those types of things. So kind of keeping that whole process and everything outside, but then having it tightly integrated through some web services to your dynamic system allows you to kind of really get the best of both worlds, and then being able to link back directly from your dynamic screens to the documents in MetaViewer if you are a user that's in there. So that has really played well nicely, especially kind of from a historical perspective. We have had our clients that went from AX 2012 and then migrated up to D365, and everything kind of stayed the same. We just kind of pointed it to the new system and those types of things. So from our perspective, migrating the MetaViewer system from AX 2012 to the D365 F&O was a very easy transition for us to help our clients get there. Here's another question. What does the audit trail look like for approvals? We have federal funders who want to see a robust approval process, which we're currently achieving with Adobe signatures on a PDF voucher. So as I said, kind of the presentation today was really talking about the robotic process automation. I did get a chance to show you kind of a little bit, just kind of give you a taste of what the approval processes works and looks like. I would encourage you to maybe jump over to our booth in the conference here, maybe chat with some folks, and we can kind of point you to the right person. You can kind of set up a meeting to maybe talk to you a little bit more specific about how your approvals work and how that works and how the system kind of works out of the box. And we can set up kind of maybe a bigger demo with your client or with you specifically. It probably takes about an hour or so to kind of go through from start to finish and show you how all that works, and be able to interact as we go through there and kind of talk about your specific needs. But that shell system, kind of what I was talking about earlier, our best practice approach, a lot of folks find that the workflow that's built in there is very, very good, and it really accommodates a lot of different scenarios that people have. But we can certainly, you can shoot just the email at that info@metafile.com, and then we can kind of have somebody follow up with you too, and kind of organize some of that type of thing as well. But one of the nice things about the approval process is everything is controlled, and everything goes from one person to the next, and we're people in the paper-based world, they have to, maybe email invoices to people, and then they kind of lose track of who's got what, and that's where the workflows are all there. The escalations and all that kind of stuff is all thought of. Even backups, like if somebody's on vacation, who's covering for them when they're on vacation, all of that is built into that type of solution. We can certainly kind of address that with you guys. Yep, looks like we're caught up on a question. So, I guess you can kind of keep the questions rolling in. Hopefully I'm doing a good job of answering them as we go through here.
But like I said, certainly jump over to our booth and chat with our folks there. Those types of things is always good. Thanks. I would definitely follow up. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Jennifer. The other things, we kind of talk. I kind of started to talk when I jumped over to the live questions here of inside or outside of D365. Some of the things that kind of advantages to that too are things like beyond AP. We kind of talked about that real briefly towards the end there. I mean, really the sky's the limit, and we find a lot of our clients, like landscape structures, and in my example today, where once they get that AP solution up and running, they kind of their brain goes wild and thinks, oh gosh, I got all these other documents that I'd like to be able to manage and control and bring the same concepts to our integration with Dynamics and being able to manage those, and contracts and HR, new hire documents, performance reviews in the HR world. Those are pretty big things. I said that the proof of delivery and customer service, those types of things. One of your customers calls in to dispute an invoice, and you have everything at your fingertips that I can bring up and talk to them about an open invoice, or a purchase order that they submitted to us, or all that stuff being right at my fingertips. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can really leverage the technology to be able to expand on some of that stuff. We got what else we got? Jake, I saw your note on the during the presentation about the approvers making people's lives miserable. I forget how I recorded it, but really the concept was people always have those troublesome approvers that seem to take forever to approve invoices, and the concept was not that they're really trying to. They just get sidetracked, right? And when you have a system that's more efficient in allowing people to access them, they typically, we see that a lot, where they approve a lot faster, just because they have everything at their fingertips. They don't, when they do get sidetracked, it's very easy to go back and then push it back there. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think we're maybe kind of winding down here from a time perspective. I can certainly answer any of the questions that you guys might have. Costs, we did talk about costs a little bit. What other kinds of things that we have? Right. Well, I guess I'll kind of let you guys go. I know there's maybe some other things to bop around and look at the conference here. I'd like to thank DynamicsCon for. No, you're not, Jennifer. Appreciate your attendance, and like I said, I'll kind of maybe wrap things up here. We might as well not drag things out. You can maybe give you a little bit of time back in your day to kind of check on some of your emails, maybe bop over to the DynamicsCon sponsors and kind of look at, like I said, our booth and chat with our folks over there. But appreciate everybody's attendance today. We can kind of wrap things up and kind of let you get going. Thanks. Take care. Have a great rest of the conference. I hope you're finding some great, valuable sessions.